Hello. Let's see now. We still have about 30 seconds, and we're waiting for a bunch of people. So let's wait for another minute or two. Right now, how many? We have only 16, so it's just about half of the class. And there is a special guest today for our sessions, and we'll figure that one out. Okay. Meanwhile, we can relax for another minute or two and have a sip of coffee. Okay, let's see. And let me start the chat function. Okay, that looks better. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Now, while we're waiting, so this is where we're at. I have received a few submissions of your topic selection paper / introduction sections, right? And I'll review them in the next couple of days and get back to you as soon as possible. And I do ask for one favor. When you think you're ready for my review, let me know. Shoot me a little email so that I know that's not just a draft, that you are good to go and you're ready for my input, okay? So that would make it easier, because sometimes I understand that you want to upload it just to check on different things, and I don't want to jump the gun and review your work when it is not ready for that. Okay. Is Henrik here? It's Dr. Minassians. Are you on? Because I don't see him at the moment. Give me 1 second. Okay. I asked Dr. Minassians to join us tonight because I understand that you have some questions or thoughts about the process, and as a faculty member, as a part-time faculty member in this program, and like I shared with you in the very beginning, I am a full professor at criminology and justice studies, and I'm working with the MPA program here as a part-time faculty. So my job is to take what they have set up as their standards and what they expect from students and the work, and I do my best. I try to do my best to make sure that the work meets their standard, right? So there are several things that I'm trying to do, as I mentioned in the first session. First of all, I'm trying to make sure that the work meets the standards of the MPA program. And second of all, don't forget, the final evaluation process is not just me. There are 2 other readers in the committee, and they have expectations that the work has to meet, right? The work has to meet. So my job is to, first of all, comply with what the department wants to get done, what the program wants to get done, and then also to make sure that the work is going to get approved by the other members of the committee without much revision. And so that's why this is the hard part, and I sound like I'm very negative sometimes. I'm telling you, no, you can't do this, you have to do that. Well, that's because it's not me as a person, it's not Kate who is saying that. Is I'm saying that because I understand the department's standards, and that's what I've been told, what they want to see from the program, from the MPA program. And at the same time, I know the reviewers, what they want to see in the final paper, right? And so that's why sometimes it sounds like I'm either being strict, or I'm telling you no, or I'm being negative, but that's only because these are the rules that I have to comply, all right? And once again, I'm here to help. I'm here to help. And I'm trying my best to help you to finish this process before Thanksgiving, all right? And so it's very important that I think we understand each other's positions and try to produce something positive and productive in the process. Okay, and I think that works better. I understand that there are sometimes some feelings about the process, and give me 1 second. Okay. So Janet wrote, if we submit best work through Turnitin and we have to keep rewriting, paraphrasing in brackets, previous best work, then the final product will be far less than our best work and not representative of this MPA graduate student. If that is the rule we have to follow, that's fine, but it's really disappointing because each successive version of the paper will get worse. I am afraid I have to disagree with that, because I do see some problems in the proposals you have submitted. I mean, those are good work, right? Those are great starting point, but the process is for me to see what needs to be in the final product, okay? And once again, what needs to be in the final product has to be in compliance with the program requirements and also the reviewers. All right. So I understand at this point it seems like, why are you making us do this? Well, first of all, it's not me who's making you do this. It's program requirement. And also each revision, I see improvements. Something that's missing, or even just paraphrasing. Sometimes I do see huge improvements between the first version and the final product. Right? And that's also part of my responsibility to help you to constantly improve the work. Right? Give me 1 second. Morgan wrote, I think the key is to come up with a worst/sloppiest to start, and then improve it as we go along. This will ensure it always meets originality requirements. Again, I'm not sure that's the best way to move forward in the process, right? Because to me, it's sort of like going to the gym. Each time I try to do my best, right?
So, my
1 second. Let me scroll down and. Okay, well, here's the thing, all right? Here's what I'm preparing to do. Once again, I still have to make sure that everything I do is in compliance. But for one thing, when I look at some of the originality reports, a lot of the percentages, they are coming from the citations, and that's not going to count. That's not going to count against you, okay? And second of all, I am going to use maximum discretion, okay? And I promise you, I'm not just going to mechanically look at the number and say, no, 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 because that's not helpful. You're right. Sometimes some of these standards, they are annoying. So that's why I am on my part, right? I'm not just going to mechanically or uncritically look at the number and say, no, no, no. I'm going to look at what is being flagged, right? And some of these small phrases and some of the technical terms, they get picked up. And that's a flaw of Turnitin. And that's why I will be going through all the reports to make sure that those things don't get taken into consideration. The problem is that sometimes when we see entire paragraphs, right, or long sentences, well, that is a little bit of an issue.
But even if it's our own work,
Hold on, I'm here.
even if it's our own work,
Could you hold on for a second? Great. Dr. Manassian, it's online, and he is going to clarify some of these issues for us.
So I understand, but can we come back to this point because it's extremely critical?
Yes, it is
we're being
extremely
flagged for
critical,
our own
and
work.
I'm gonna answer your questions if you may let me do that. Yes, if it's your own work, the way we set it up previously, it's going to pick up as Turnitin through the Turnitin.com. So that's an issue. However, based on what Dr. K. Pai has told me, some people are raising the issue that what they wrote as a submission to Dr. Valikid and myself during the summer, that constitutes their introduction. We said you could use it, but it's not per se an introduction of the work that you're going to have. So you have to follow what your instructor of record says in order to get your paper to the point that it would be acceptable not only to him, but to the other two readers. Okay, so that's the first critical thing. I cannot dictate, no one can dictate to the instructor what to do when it comes to the content of the class that they teach. Okay, so that's one of the things that you have to take into the consideration. There is a policy saying you cannot turn in the same piece of work. That's true, Ian. There is a policy by the graduate studies saying that you cannot take the existing paper and the same word by word verbiage enter it as your new work. So that's what we are asking, that you have to rewrite components even if it's your introduction. Sorry, I had to get on my knees. I just ran home.
Doctor,
Yes.
If that was the case, and I understand the rules, then we should have been told up front, don't use your past work, because in 620 we went through the whole class with the intention of turning in what would be a proposal for a research project, and then
That's
as we
true.
went through the pre-class for this, we were encouraged, or not encouraged per se, but we were told that we could use the same material, for our resubmission. So many of us chose to mine that and use that material. What you should have told us very upfront and very honestly was, you're going to have to pick a new subject because you can't use your past work.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. One of the challenges that we have had in the past year since we switched to graduate project, it's been not having enough time for students to write up things. So one of the things that we have done, and we are continuously doing, we are saying what you developed in 620, it's the work that it's kind of precursor to what's going to be your graduate project. Okay, and you're absolutely right on that. I don't know your first name. I know I have seen your last name, Popovich, Mr. Popovich, but you're absolutely right that we do tell students that you could take that work and rework it into your existing paper. But we are also asking you, not just, I mean, your faculty of record is going to ask you to rewrite parts of those components, because what you have turned in for 620 is satisfying a faculty member to get a grade from 620. But what's happening here, it's satisfying 3 faculty members for the graduate project. We are not asking you don't use the work, but we are asking you work with your faculty member to reward it and rework it in order to make a stronger product. And that's all we're asking you to do.
And I appreciate that. And in fact, in my case, I'm actually arguing for a lot of my classmates. But in my case, I wound up having to redo my 620 paper and change a whole different tact on it, and using some of that material. But now I'm going to have to rework it a third time to come up with something entirely different. And that's, you know, for me, that'll be, I will now have gone through this 3 times. Some of my classmates are going to have to go through this twice in trying to rework their work. I'm going to have to rework my stuff 3 times to come up with an entirely new approach to satisfy these requirements. And that's just for working professionals who don't have the luxury of having a lot of time to work on this stuff. That's honestly ridiculous.
No, I understand that, and I'm not, I hear you, and we are trying to work through this in order to assist you to finish the program in a timely fashion, okay? Other universities, they don't care about this. My friend, I'll be honest with you, my friend is at Dominguez Hills. He's on his 2nd year writing his thesis. 2nd year writing his thesis, because committee is saying 70 pages that you have written is not good enough, and your project has to be 140 to 150 pages, and they give them 3 options. And what we are trying to do, we are trying to ease that process, and we are asking you to work with your faculty of record and other committee members that they are going to step in later on in the semester and be able to produce something around 25 pages plus, so it would be acceptable to the entire committee and to the graduation. Now, if you decide to change your topic, that's your own decision. If you decide to rework it based on what you had in 620, we hear you, and I believe Dr. Kepai is also working with you. The only thing he's asking you, reward things as you're submitting and obviously add to it, because what we had for 620, it was just a starting point. You know, it's like what Terry did, 12 to 15 pages of work that you do for your 620, and this one has to be much longer, better developed, better thought out graduate project. And one of the reasons is, Mr. Popovich, is that I don't know, by the way, I'll just call you JJ, okay? One of the issues is, JJ, that this material is published online, and we are extremely kind of concerned over that. That's the product that goes online, it's a representation of you, and then it's a representation of our program and representation of what our students produce. That's why we are trying to get the students on the same page in order to make sure that they'll be able to produce a better program. I mean, better product. And work through it and work with your own faculty member in order to do that. Other questions, I'm happy to answer. I'm here to assist you guys to ease the process, as well as to assist my colleague in order to go through this process and be able to finish this. I know it's stressful.
Yeah, this is Janet Dutcher.
Hi, Janet. How are you?
I'm pretty good. It's been a long day. So what I'm hearing is that rather than the strict procedural 15% on the Turnitin score, that we can work with Dr. Kapal and mine some of that work we did this summer, which I think I did some of my better writing in those 2 pages. I mean, I spent a lot of time on it, and can take that along with the advice from our advisor here and put together the best product, regardless of the Turnitin score. That's being like mine. It flagged 27% coming from my paper this summer.
Yeah,
and I took 3 paragraphs and used it in a 5-page paper.
Correct. And one thing that I spoke with Dr. Valiquette, and you guys were in our most probably workshops in the summer through pre-enrollment. One of the things that I've told Dr. Valiquette, and we're doing that, is not using Turnitin for the pre-enrollment 698. So it would not tag it as plagiarism. Okay.
That's a really good idea, and maybe also for these like preparatory drafts, like the topic selection paper, if that could not use Turnitin. Obviously, I'm not trying to plagiarize, but the fact that what I write now that is a first draft for my final paper, that's going to compromise the ability of myself to with my thesis because of the Turnitin score. That's very concerning.
Okay, let me work tomorrow with distance learning folks and Dr. Valiquette. Let me see if we can turn off the Turnitin from pre-enrollment so it will not pick it up again. Okay, that's the one thing I want to do in order to not worry about this 15% plagiarism, which is picking up your own work that you have submitted, and we'll not use it in the future for pre-enrollment, so it would not tag it. Meanwhile, as Janet said, and I appreciate what you're saying, Janet, is willingness to rework it in a way in order to meet the requirements of your instructor of record and the other 2 readers, which they are going to come in and they are going to have their own issues, not per se with Turnitin, but the content that you construct and put together. Okay, so I'll do that. I will go and talk to the distance learning tomorrow to see if we can turn it off so it will not tag your own existing work, so you could go ahead and use it. But what you have submitted, it's going to go through a lot of massaging. Okay, and I'll be honest with you, this is a back and forth process, is a painful process. We didn't want to put it in place. Neither Dr. Wynn, who has taken medical leave, wanted this. I was director of this program for 10 years, and they have brought me back again to direct it. I'm not too fond of it. We're going to redesign the final graduate project for the future. But for now, it is what it is, and we're going to work with this because we want you to graduate. Okay, and I'm being honest with you. I want December time for you guys to be gone rather than to stick around, because our graduation rates is also another issue I have to keep an eye on. So I'm asking you to work with Dr. Pai, and he's experienced in doing this. He has done this for social work, for sociology, and now for criminal justice. And he's graciously helping us to put this together and write, rewrite.
Yeah, this is Janet. So I really appreciate that. And I don't have any problems editing and changing and taking advice and because in the end, I don't think I can do anything less than my best effort. And to have to discard my best effort this summer, I'm sure I can live with that.
Yeah, and the key is this. I mean, it's your own product. correct? I mean, I put out something, sometimes I think about it, and I look back, and I'm going to be honest with you. I look back, I go, Jesus, why did I publish that?
Me too, all the time.
Yeah, that sounds stupid.
Well,
Why
some
did
of
I-
it sounded stupid, but some of it was good. And it's not just my own work, it's my own work for the same paper. I can understand if there were two different classes, two
Correct,
different paper.
correct.
But it was a precursor to what we're doing now, and to have to discard it, was
Well, we're
was
not
tough.
asking discard it, Janet. We're asking work with Dr. Pi to rework it, rewrite it.
It just seems like it's on a technicality. Like in the real world, we would be writing things and we would have good sections of work, and of course some of it would be trash, and we'd go back and rework it and edit and take advice, of course. But it just seems like it's just based on a technicality that we can't use the good work that we've already done.
Yeah, well, that's the Turnitin.com. At the end, when you give us 25 pages, the critical component would be to keep the plagiarism component under 15%, because this is a work, again, as I said, that's going to get published. So we will rework it with you. Dr. Pi and the other two readers, they would ask you, rewrite this paragraph, rewrite this page, okay? Which is taking your own work again, rethinking to reward it in a different form continuously by editing it. And as I stated, I will work with the distance learning tomorrow to see if we can turn off the Turnitin pre-enrollment component, so it's not going to tag it if you use some of your own work as plagiarism. Okay, I will do that tomorrow morning.
So our score can be over 15 as long as the things it's flagging are our own work.
For now, until I see if I can turn it off. Okay.
And then the further concern is that, so we're talking about that grad proposal that we did affecting the score for this assignment we're doing now. But then the same issue is going to occur when the assignment we're doing now affects our final draft.
Yeah, the work that you're doing now, let's say adding to whatever you have submitted, let's say it's 3-4 pages, okay? And you're adding to that. So you have another 20 pages to go. And obviously that has to have the originality or proper citation or proper paraphrasings, so it does not pick up as a plagiarism.
But so we will not be able to use anything that we're writing for this topic selection paper in our final paper.
Topic selection paper,
That's
you
the
mean
assignment
what
we're
you did
working
in
on right
your
now.
enrollment class?
No, we're working on an assignment right now, and it's the basis for our introduction. And I'm concerned that what I write now is going to affect the Turnitin score for my final draft.
No, that won't happen. Gray, that's
That
not,
won't happen.
yeah, that's not.
Whatever you
good.
generate in this class is original to this class only. You know what I'm saying? So if you write something, you put it through Turnitin. Dr. Pi is just making sure that you're not just, let's say, any student is not just taking, cut and pasting 2 pages from another place and calls it their own work. But if you write it right now in your own words and it's not picking up anything, if you use it later on for building on it for second phase of this class and third phase and fourth phase and fifth phase, is not going to be an issue with Dr. Pi. I don't think so. Am I
No.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
Okay, I realize it won't be an issue for you, but Turnitin, my originality score is probably going to be pretty darn high because it's going to be flagging things that I've written that have been processed through Turnitin. So you'll
Well,
just ignore that.
I let that question to be answered by Dr. Pi.
No, like I mentioned, I'm not just going to look at that number. I'm going to look at how it is being paraphrased, and that's why I'm the human here, to help you, so that it's not just some kind of hindrance or some kind of barrier. Right?
So you're
So
not
I'm
an
gonna-
artificial intelligence?
Artificial, yes. Intelligent might not be that much, especially later on when I have like 2 beers. So I'm going to use discretion in looking at what is being flagged and take out some of the stuff. Like I said, some even references get flagged, and obviously that should not be counted. But that's why the program, it's a program, and I'm here. Okay, so and I think the exercise, it has more to do with this skill of paraphrasing. So if I see that, hey, there's a genuine effort in trying to paraphrase the work instead of seeing the entire paragraph being cut and paste, I'm good with that. Okay. So the big question is that sometimes we see long sentences or entire paragraphs just getting cut and paste into another section, and that becomes an issue. Otherwise, I am more than willing to be flexible in looking at the originality percentage or the originality score. Yeah.
Hey, who are your second and third readers?
Dr. Nufrio and then Dr. Franklin.
Okay, Nufrio is going to look at your methods very closely.
Oh, yes.
And Franklin is going to look at your grammar and your punctuation very closely. I know both of them, how they work. The other faculty that they are with our colleague Valikit, they are going to edit things with a so detailed, which is it's going to be unbelievable. But anyway, any other questions for me before I leave and go? I just came from the gym driving, and I was trying to connect from my car, and I couldn't. That's why I'm kind of late, and I apologize about that. But it's nice to see at least 3 faces, and I have never met you before, but I always like to put faces to names to our students. Not that I remember always, but people, they always come to me and say, "Do you remember me?" I go, "Sure," but not always I remember them. Questions for me before I log off and I let Dr. Pai do his job. So let's work together. Let's work with Dr. Pai, and I think we can move forward with this and finish up this semester and graduate all of you guys, and see you guys in May of 2020 at the actual graduation ceremony. Am I right? That's when you guys are going to show up to campus.
Yes.
Well, that's the important part. All right, I log off.
Thank you, Dr. Manasian.
Welcome, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for your help.
Point of clarification. Hovig said, what if we submit the intro section and make minimal changes if it's written well? Then if we simply take what we turned in for our intro today as the intro section for our final product, will this be a problem? No, that's exactly what we're doing. Right, so there's not going to be a second time of counting match rate from this point on. So the intro section that I'm supposed to be receiving today, the topic selection paper / introduction section that I'm reading today, it will not get counted twice, even when it gets integrated into the final paper. Okay, and that's why I'm doing this piece by piece, because I want to make sure that we get done as much as possible now. Instead of, imagine if mid-October, if you have to deal with a million things, including paraphrasing and all that stuff, that would be a lot more stressful than just getting the most done now. And then by mid-October, approaching the grad division deadline, we have less to worry about. Okay, and that's my intention, why I'm counting every section the 15%. Okay, that's not to make life difficult for you. I understand that you have many things to worry about, and this process is not easy, but it's part of the, and I promise you that that somebody, that's okay. let me just, I can mute all. Okay. Right. All right, I'm muting all, and if you want to ask a question, you can unmute yourself, and then we can go from there, right? Like I said, I'm going to use maximum discretion, and I'm going to go through what's getting picked up, and then make sure those tiny things. It will be ridiculous. It will be ridiculous and frankly unhelpful if I were to count a citation as a hit, or a small phrase or some kind of technical term as a hit. It would be unhelpful to you, and that's not what I'm doing here. All right, I'm not in the business of being a jerk to you. Okay, so paraphrase, and then I'll look at make it at least under 20. And yeah, sometimes even the title, right? I forgot who brought it up. Even the title gets picked up. And I'm not going to count that. I'm going to, of course, ignore that match because that would be unreasonable. And frankly, it would be asinine if I were to do that, right? And once again, the introduction section or all sections that we are working on, they will not get counted twice, okay? So the final paper, if this is what we're doing, that's why I'm doing turn it in every section, so that the final paper doesn't have to go through turn it in again. Okay, the final paper just gets read by the reader, the second reader, or the other members of the committee. Okay.
That really answers the question. Like that's all I needed to know. That's excellent.
Okay.
So the final paper, things in the final paper will not be flagged and turn it in because there were things that I wrote and turned it in already to turn it in.
Right. So that's why, yeah. So if every section, right, the next section is literature review. If the match rate it's 15% under or a little bit above, then it's fine. And the method section will be a little bit higher because the technical terms, there are only so many ways to talk about methods. And I'm not going to count that part, okay? The method section, because it's technical and some of you are using the same techniques, right? And it's easier to get hits if that happens. And that's why I don't count the method section, all right? So I know it right now. It sounds like a shock, and there's a lot of misunderstandings. For one thing, I'm glad we have a chance to clarify, between the sections and the final paper. Right? Of course, it would be crazy to ask you to rewrite everything in the final paper, right? And so that's something that you don't worry about. Okay, don't worry about that. There are enough things that we need to work on. And to be honest, last year is the same thing. As soon as the introduction section gets done and we move forward, then everybody gets more relaxed. Because the literature review, it's not as difficult to a certain degree, because now you have to figure out a research question. I'm asking you to think about this. I'm asking you to trim it down or maybe change your focus a little bit, and how to properly discuss the context of the issue. It's very stressful. But once we get to the literature review, then it's a lot easier. It's a lot more relaxed. And the method section, I have very specific guidelines to help you figure out exactly what you need to do. All right. And same thing last year. All of a sudden, people went like, oh, okay, it's not that bad. And that's early October. And there were a lot of angry folks last year, the same issues. The messenger gets shot. That's part of what being a messenger is about. But that's why if you have, yeah. Of course.
I have a question. So just to clarify on my end, so every piece that we're working on, like for instance, this introduction section,
Mhm.
we will not have to rewrite to incorporate into the piece of the puzzle of this bigger paper? Or okay, so we should write it as if it's our introduction to the final paper, because it will be pieced together
Because
along
it
with
will be, I might ask you to do a little bit of revision here and there, because there might be more things to add. There might be some things that we'll have to revise to read better. Okay, there are some small issues, but if you followed the lecture last week, or if you look at not just or, and if you have been looking at the material that I post on Canvas, then I'm pretty sure the revisions that will need are small. And like that's exactly what it is, right? We're writing this thing piece by piece so that come late October, the whole thing just get put together, and then boom, get sent to a grad division and tell them, this is what we got, sign it off, and then everybody have a happy Thanksgiving, right? So if you have questions like those, yeah, please definitely talk to me. No, I understand. It's not your. I don't think anybody here is trying to plagiarize. Okay, but for one thing, research is and writing papers is a pretty damn frustrating experience. Okay, every paper that I published, or even things I'm writing now, I have to revise a million times because I'm my own worst critic. Just like cooking a dish, I have to cook it at least 15 times, and then, to think that, oh, it's starting to come together. And I'm pretty sure that the next time, if I mess it up just slightly, I'll be mad. But that's, part of life. And but once again, we're not going to make you repeat doing the same work again and again and again, right? That's not productive. And we're trying to get you guys to finish by November. Right, so that you get signed off, and that's the only goal that we have. Okay, so if you have questions, I mean, sometimes like you talk to each other, and then if the information is not there, if the clarification is not there, it gets worked up. So I encourage you, if you have questions about these procedural things, or these problems or issues, please bring up to me so that I can find the best information for you, so that we make it simpler, right? Instead of getting angry over it. Okay, and yes, I understand, and I apologize that the staff sometimes are not communicated well to you, and I'm just as frustrated. Because when I talk to some of my colleagues and I ask them, okay, what happened here? What happened there? What should I anticipate? What can I do to help this cohort to achieve their goals? Sometimes I'm not getting the information I need, because that's how we communicate, right? It's difficult to just give every bit of information. And sometimes I have to figure it out as I go, and I get enormously frustrated about it, because the task is simpler and less insurmountable as it sounds. Okay, and yes, Elaine, I agree. Having two classes at once, especially this process, it's above my pay grade. If I have to schedule the program, I would probably use a different schedule. But then again, they're trying to get you to finish this whole thing within a year and a half, right? So there are very limited options, and they're trying to cover as many areas as possible. So it's not ideal, but it's what there is out there, what we have to deal with, okay? And that's why I think it's the best approach that we work together. And if there are any questions that needs to be clarified, then let me know, so that I can get you the best information, and I can make adjustments on my part I mean, there are rules, but there's always a little bit of wiggle room, right? And that's my part in trying to help you to finish the best I could. Okay, and yes, Morgan, I agree with you. I'm really, really, really not happy that some of the information, there are some discrepancies, okay? And I don't think that was helpful to you, right? And I agree with you. But like I said, I'm looking at how to move forward at this part and how to do what is necessary and what is most efficient so that we can get to the goal of finishing by November. Okay? Well, thank you for many of your support. Yes, I guarantee if you keep on pace, you will finish by the deadline. Which is early November, the graduate division deadline, right? And like I said, the tools I'm giving, some of the worksheets, right? They are very useful, right? Because it's not just because from a textbook, but because I do this, right? This is what I do, and very necessary. Now, I'm not going to do too much today because I understand that we're all stressed out. All right, and you have more relaxing things to do than staring at your monitor. I'm just gonna mention a couple of things. I'm seeing some submissions of drafts of the introduction. Once again, when you submit your draft to turn it in, let me know if you're ready. All right. If you just want to look at the match rate, that's fine. Yeah, that's no problem at all. But if you want me to review your work, to give you comments and inputs, let me know. Shoot me an email so that I know I should look at it. All right, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Second thing, yes, on the syllabus, ideally we should be finishing at least the first draft. But I'm going to address that right now, JJ. No, it's there's no hard deadline. Okay. It's I want to make sure that nobody gets fall behind so that they miss the deadlines by the grad division. That would be the only hard deadline. On my part, I would say within the next week, it would be very important for you to come up with a good draft so that I can review. Okay, so that I can give you comments, hopefully as little as possible. And so that if you look at the worksheet that I've sent on the introduction section, if you have covered all those areas, then probably your introduction section of the final paper is approaching done. All right, there might be like small things here and there, but I guarantee if you follow that worksheet, if you use the tools that I've provided, it would be very, very, very close to finished. And that's one thing off your mind, right? And so, no, it's no hard deadline. You don't have to. I mean, that's why I didn't set a deadline on Turnitin or Canvas. But I would like to see within the next week or so that I can give you feedback so that you can finish revising and then put it aside. And then start working on the literature review, right? Because that part, it's quite time consuming because you actually have to read, you have to extract information from the articles, and then you have to formulate the literature review. So once again, there's no hard deadline for the introduction section. Okay, but please try to finish within the next week and the next few days so that I can go through it and give you feedback. And when you do that, when you think it's ready to review, well, when I say that, I mean, yes, you feel confident, right? Otherwise, if I have to give you more comments, everybody starts feeling bad. And we don't want that, right? So make sure that you think it's good to go, and then I'll review it, and then Morgan, with references with garbage writing, resubmit. Yeah, so yeah, would you please, if you feel you want to revise it, yeah, just let me know. All right, I won't read it now, and tell me when you feel you're ready. I'm on your side. I keep saying that. Okay. Okay. What else? I just received a couple of introductions without first talking to me, and that's not necessary. And that's not a very good idea. All right, and I've looked at those introductions quickly. I'm referring to some introductions that I have never read the worksheet, and just boom, there was a submission of an introduction section. That's not exactly a good idea, because I'm just looking at it quickly. There are problems with the research question, most notably a lack of specificity, and it's not just me. I guarantee the reviewers are going to have issues with that. Okay, so it's very important, and that's why I'm here. Right? That's why I'm here to work with you, so that it gets prepared to a point that the reviewers would think they are comfortable to sign off the papers, right? Okay, so make sure that it's not like you have to get my approval, right? Who cares about me? I don't care about me, right? I don't need my own approval, but it's that I have done this long enough, and I know how to help you to prepare your work, so that the other reviewers would sign off. Okay, so and once again, one more time, once the introduction section gets submitted and approved at this point, it won't get picked up again, or Turnitin won't get picked up again. Okay, so does that answer the question? Does that make people a little bit less angry? I don't want you to be angry.
No, I would say we were never angry. It was just frustrating to feel like I was afraid to do my best work right now, because I didn't want to have to alter my best work so that it would be acceptable for the technicality of the Turnitin.
Well, let me just say that, even in my case, I've been doing this for 15, 16 years. I finished my PhD in 2004. And when I look at my own work, that's never my best work. I'm always looking at my previous work, like, oh, this is crap. Why did I do that? Because I always think that
I wasn't going to rework and revise my work, because I think that's a very important part of the writing process. But just to think that I couldn't use any of my own phrasing was distressing. So I'm very happy to know that that's not the case. And I really
not the case.
Explaining that to us, so thank you.
That's not the case, and once again, I'm here to read the originality report to make sure that stuff like that doesn't get counted against you, right? So, well, I appreciate that, JJ. Well, it's good to have people being angry with me. JJ said, we were never angry with you. It's sometimes fun to have people getting mad at you. Well, under certain circumstances, but that's not what I'm trying to do here, right? It doesn't help anyone, okay? Okay? Yeah, and yes, the program is a program. And as a part-time faculty with the program, I can do my best to help reflect some of your experience and try to improve the program. And I think they're doing that. And meanwhile, because I can't and I won't throw anybody under the bus, right? And I think I would lose your respect if I throw somebody under the bus, right? I'm not a rat. That's not what I do. Is what they do to rats, that's not pretty. So yeah, let's work together on that, all right? Now, let's see. Yes, it's very important that everything, let's increase our communication, okay? And make sure that we're on the same page. Josette, there's no limit on the number of references in the introduction, okay? The issue of references, that's more important for the literature section, literature review section. So in the introduction, you can highlight, use some of the most important research to highlight the problem, or very, very gently, right, tell your readers, yeah, there's some work to be done, but hey, check out my work. I'm the best, right? And that's the whole point of mentioning a few research very, very briefly, and then you want to save that for the literature review, right? Give me 1 second. Is it okay? Elaine asked, is it okay not, hold on, it scrolled. Is it okay not perfect the introduction section now? Because my experience, once I finish a literature review, I have more stuff to put. Exactly. Very good point, Elaine. The process, well, exactly, because there are some additional ideas that you might want to integrate with it, which is fine. Okay. As a matter of fact, I appreciate that, because it tells me that you are passionate about doing this thing, even though this is just an assignment, but that's what gets me going, right? And yes, definitely, if you have more to add, but what we want right now is a good draft, so that you just add some minor things to it instead of having to write a new one, right? Does that make sense? Right, and yes, literature review and the research methods, you will have more to talk about in the introduction section. And that's why if it's at this point, I mean, ideally it should be about at least 5 pages, around that length. But if it's a little bit short, it's okay, because you can briefly summarize the entire project, including a little bit of the literature review, and to mention your research method as part of the introduction section, right? In this study, I plan to use interviews, and I interview blah, 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 to answer these questions, right? And that's a very important item to address in the introduction section. You're telling people what you are going to do, right? Not just the idea, but you're telling people that, hey, I am using this method because I know what I'm doing, all right? And check this out. But the point is that at this point, give me a good draft. Okay, give me a good draft so that later on it's just adding to it, supplementing it, instead of not having anything. I mean, think about it. If we delay this process into October, if we delay the introduction process into October, it's going to be really stressful, right? And that's what I'm trying to avoid, because if nothing is quite there yet, by October, if you look at what you have now, trust me, there'll be panic, and that's not going to help, right? So we'll, at this point, I'm looking for, I hate saying that because it's not like I am looking for, right? But that's the language, right? You should have a good draft, right? That at the very least, do some of the things that I mentioned in the worksheet to highlight the context, right? How big is the problem? What's the budget? How much money are we spending that one issue per year? How much money is lost, right? Or how many clients gets treated or not treated? At least have that context, right, done and ready in the introduction section, so that later on, all you have to supplement, hypothetically, if you want, is just minor details of the project, right? Okay. Any other questions on that for now? Now, like I said, I'm not going to go through too much today. I'm just going to maybe another 5 minutes. I do want to talk about the process of gathering literature. I'm sure you have done something like that, but some of the tricks I've learned over the years, because over my career, I have done research on different topics, meaning each time I have to accumulate a different literature. And you're right, like Elaine mentioned, every time when I start reading more, then I think about my research question and it gets better. So how do I do that? How do I proceed with the literature review process? And yes, the program requires at least 20 references, right? Now, first of all, you should definitely focus your efforts in looking for research articles and professionally prepared research reports, okay? Because when it comes to credibility, right, you're using that literature to support your argument, to show that your readers that, hey, I am a credible researcher and I know what we know about this field at this point. And that's why it's very important to make sure that the sources that you have are legitimate, okay? And part of it is that, of course, you start with 1 or 2 major articles, right? You use Xerces, the library. They have a database, and that's very efficient in finding articles. A lot of articles, if you go through the library website, you can just download, right? I mean, previously, when I was in grad school, then we have to go through like volumes of that crap, and then like 50 pounds from the shelf, and then bring it to the copy machine, Xerox machine, and copy each, and the flash, right, the light from the copy machine. And I mean, that's why I'm half blind. I blame it on my academic work. No, I'm kidding. But now it's a little bit more at ease with the Xerces system. You can just search. But that sometimes might not be enough. Now, one trick I've learned is to use the reference of the major articles, okay? The reference section, look at who is talking about who in their literature review. Because academics, yes, they love talking about each other, right? And using that literature review, somebody else's literature review as the start to look for other articles and the breadcrumbs. See what I'm saying? So use their literature review, use their reference section, and go from there to extend your reach. Because some of your, so even the search system, sometimes they don't reach all the published articles. Sometimes you have to go through an old school, right? The other thing to mention is, I mean, the other thing to definitely be aware is the major articles, right? What are the most important work that's been done in that specific area? And make sure that you mention those, okay? And there are the articles that get mentioned all the time, right? There are several articles in every field or under every topic get mentioned all the time. Well, meaning those are the major scholars or the major studies that you should know if you are talking about that specific topic, right? And so that is very important. The other thing I want to make sure is that you are systematic in your search. Now, think about themes, different areas, different aspects of the same issue. Even those themes might not be exactly the same as your topic, right? But if they are related, if they're relevant, then good, use those, right? Or maybe if your topic is under-researched, if there's very little in the topic that, well, I'm thinking about most of your research questions and most of your research topics, I don't think there's any one that is very, very, very under-researched. I'm saying that you should be able to find quite a bit of references, right? But my point is that sometimes it's okay to use research articles in some other topic or issue or research question that is parallel to your research question, okay? But be systematic. Come up with themes. That's why next week I'm going to talk about the process of putting together a literature review. I'm sure you've done that, but once again, there might be little tricks that you might not have been aware previously, right? But for now, if you look at Canvas, there is a thing called the Annotated Bibliography Worksheet. And no, you don't have to submit that. You don't have to send it to me. But I think it's useful for you to break down each article using the worksheet. If you look at the worksheet, right, there are only a few items, meaning when you read an article, right, the citation, of course, right, that's helpful. And again, because this is a Word document, you can just cut and paste the citation onto your reference list in the end. The citation, who are these people doing research? Right? What are their backgrounds? I don't mean their name, but are they academics? Are they government officials? Are they NGOs? Are they working for a think tank? What? But the most important things are use what data. Now that's something that people don't do enough. Is to discuss the research, their methodology. Right? It's something that is you don't have to go very lengthy into it. Just a couple of sentences. Right? What's the sample that they use? Whom did they collect the data from? Whom did they study? Right? For instance, if they did a survey with students, then who are these students, right? Are they from a public school district? Are they from a private school district? The age and region in the country where? Because if you like somebody's methodology, you can borrow their methodology in your study, right? If you think, wow, this study does a great job in surveying 5,000 students, in addressing this particular issue, you can argue that because that methodology works so well, I want to do something similar, right? In that case, it will be easier for you to think of a sample, right? Whom do you want to collect data from? And that's something that is not done enough in the literature review process. I mean, when you're reading the article, might as well extract the most out of it, right? So make sure you pay a little bit of attention to their methodology, their data. What are they using? What kind of sample are they using? To do what? Of course, that's the main research question, right? What research question are they trying to address? And found what? What their conclusion? What did they find about this particular issue? And so, well, that's something, once again, that's not done adequately. Because the literature review is not just a list. You have to talk about the relevance of each group of articles, and also you have to identify the research gap towards the end, right? So if you use the worksheet for the articles, then you only have to maybe write a sentence or two under each item so that you have that very clear and organized strategy in doing this literature review process, instead of looking at a stack of article and not knowing where to go from there, right? And so I hope that is useful. And once again, don't forget to also look at their methods, right? The method section, instead of just looking at the research question and the content, because that is also helpful, right? And so I would really, really, really encourage you to start. I'm sure you have started the process. I'm looking at your research, your topic proposals, and you have collected a number of sources, right? And sometimes, yes, sometimes you have to read the same thing more than once. Sometimes I'm reading some academic work. I have to read it 3-4 times to understand what the hell they're talking about, particularly if it is a topic that I'm not familiar with. If I'm reading something that's outside my field, even your work, right? Because you are talking about a lot of wonderful topics, and I don't know many of these areas, and I have to sometimes read the same thing more than a few times so that I gain a better understanding of your topic and how that research question is phrased, right? So the process gets repetitive and it's frustrated, but sometimes that's necessary and inevitable in producing work, right? I also draw and I do artwork, and sometimes you just want to take a knife and just like stab the canvas, because when you're doing the same drawing, you have to correct it so many times. Yeah, there's no such thing as mistake. Well, that's not the kind of work that I'm doing. But sometimes it gets frustrating, especially 2 o'clock at night, and you're still looking at the same piece of work and you're still getting mad at it. I really want to like do something to stab it and you slash it. But what good does it do, right? It doesn't do anything. I want to kickbox it. Well, the paint gets everywhere. And then the cats, you don't want the cats to get painted, because it's expensive to go to the vet, and then I get arrested for animal abuse or something, and nobody's going to help you finish your projects, right? Right? All right, I think we've done enough today, and I'm glad we have this opportunity to clarify. Nothing is going to get from this point on. Nothing is going to get counted by turning in twice. And once again, I'm going to use my maximum discretion, all right, to help you with the Turnitin thing. It's annoying, but that's the directive on me not just you have to deal with it. I have to deal with it too, right? So I'm trying to get the thing going so that we move in a productive direction. Okay? Any other questions today? So once again, if for those of you who are still working on your intro, work on it and let me know. Yes. Somebody said something. No? Okay. Where was I? Yes. For those who are still working on your introduction section, keep working on it, and then let me know when you think your work is ready to be reviewed so that I can look at it and give you comments. Okay? But ideally, we really want to get this process finished in about a week or so that you can start with literature review so that you are less stressed. Stress, a lot of times we get stressed when things start to pile on us, right? And I'm trying to take one slab of rock. You have seen those things when they put a slab of rock on a person and then use a sledgehammer. I always want to go for the head, but that's just because, I'm trying to get one slab off you before the process puts another slab on you, right? Sorry about that joke. That wasn't a very good joke, but I'm a criminologist. Okay? I'm on your side. Okay? God. Anyways, yeah. If there's nothing else, then let's end the session here. I'm seeing some stuff in the chat room. I'm not quick enough to do that because I am terrible at texting, and I like being old school. So if you have any concerns, any issues, let me know, right? So that I can get the information to you. Yes?
Professor, this is Kaylin. I'm still having an issue to turn it on ETD. If you can walk me through, or if any one of the classmates can walk me through, I would appreciate that.
I tell you what, I hate ETD. I hate them. But I don't see your screen. That's the problem. I don't see your screen. I only see my screen after you submit something. All right. So I don't even know where to start helping you with, what's the problem? The best thing with ETD is to contact grad division directly.
think there
I'm
was some.
so, yeah.
I think there was some confusion, and I finally was able to log on. So in the module that has the ETD tutorial, you click on that, and then in the gray title where it says ETD tutorial, click on that. It's going to send you to a login. You log in, and then it'll show you that section with all the deadlines and what to submit.
Thank you. I don't even see that. They don't let me see that, as if it's some kind of magic, right? It's crazy. Like if I have that information, I'd be able to help you much better, right? But I don't have the information. I don't even see the screen. I don't even have access to that tutorial.
Okay, so I guess to Josette, after picking your chair and the members, do you actually submit the draft on ETD?
No.
Yeah.
Don't submit any draft yet. All right.
Not
for
the draft.
Now, Right. Absolutely. Thank you for bringing this up. Let's clarify that. For now, you're just nominating or picking your committee members. Okay, everybody here, everybody in this cohort, I'm your chair. Hello, if you have never met me. I'm your chair, Dr. K Pai. And then the second member is Dr. Rhonda Franklin. And the third member is Dr. Philip Nufrio. And I have sent an announcement on Canvas, I believe, with those names. Everybody in this cohort, we have to use those members, okay? And as to whom gets read by whom, I'll let you know as soon as I have that piece of information, okay? Otherwise, don't upload anything to ETD yet. And that's another thing, right? Why can't they just show you one piece at a time instead of, this chaos? Trust me, my level of frustration is much higher than yours. And that's why I'm looking at my fridge and I hope the beer is cold enough. Yeah, I'm actually going for wine tonight. Got some chilled sparkling rosé. Yeah. Anyways, and I made some gumbo. So it's going to be sparkling rosé and gumbo. I'm so looking forward to that. But let me know what you need. Let's keep communicating. Don't disappear. And then trust me, we'll live. Okay? Any other questions? No? Okay. All right. Yeah, send me emails. It's better to send me emails instead of using Canvas to send me messages, because sometimes the attachment, sometimes they don't stick, and I don't get the attachment. Okay, just send me emails directly so that I have I can just download it and see what happens. Okay. November 5th, the 5th of November, that's Guy Fawkes, right? That's when he tried to burn down the British Parliament. At the moment, they don't need any burning down. They're doing a pretty good job on themselves. What is the world coming to? Hong Kong is burning up. Here, UK, Italy is done. I love Italy. I can't believe well, it's always a mess, but anyways, you don't need to hear that. Okay? So once again, I'm glad we did this tonight, and let me know if there's anything else I can help you with, okay? All right. Take care.